and it's in a very soft way. So leading them through a sales process becomes very easy because you're continuously helping them. So.
Yeah.
And I think it's much more in tune with what your ideal customers are looking for, as opposed to in their face. So you know those websites you visit and the box pops up and it screams at you and it yells at you to buy something or click something or read this or tweet that. That's not the goal. That's not what inbound is. That's going out and trying to attack people and vie for their attention. Whereas inbound marketing really becomes that personality that's there kind of in the background, almost like you're so in tune with what your customers want that your material just shows up where they're looking for it, and they don't even realize at first that they're being marketed to. As opposed to click here, they find your piece, which you may have strategically placed there, but it's not screaming in their face, and it's much easier for them to absorb your information.
What I found, through many, many years of both marketing and sales experience is that people who are doing inbound marketing and call themselves inbound marketers really spend a great deal of time finding out what the customer wants. Delving very, very deeply into the personas of the target audience, the psychographics, the infographics, because we want to be found and we want to be seen where our customers are. We want to be helpful. We want to provide information that resonates and what they're looking for. We're not yelling at them. We're helping them. And if I could, sum everything up, it's more of a helping our customers do their business, helping our customers make money.
Got it. So Christine, you touched on something there that I think is a good thing to dive a little deeper on, buyer personas. You guys might call them target audience, target personas, but I guess in your opinion, what is a buyer persona? You guys all said they're relevant, they're important, but I'm a small business, I'm a big business, I'm any business. One, what is it, and how do you even get started with your buyer personas?
I think in its simplest nature, looking at a buyer persona is, who do you want to sell to? Who do you want your customers to be? You can go after any demographic, you can go after any business or customer, and you can engage with that person, but it becomes a lot easier to attract the people that want your service or product if you start targeting them in such a way that you can engage with them. So whether that's the demographics, whether that's male or female, whether that's children or older people, it doesn't matter what you're actually looking for. If you start developing that persona and really figuring out what people in your area respond to, then you have an opportunity to engage with them in a completely different way.
And thinking about not just the type of company that you want to go after or the position of the person in the company that you want to go after, but what does that person really look like? Who are they? What are they going to respond to? When you put yourself in their shoes and think about, okay, if I'm the executive admin, I'm the gatekeeper for my boss, and so that person gets flooded with information day in and day out. So you have to put yourself in that person's shoes to be able to figure out what's important to them, what matters, what's going to stand out, and what is going to help make them able to do their job better, whether that's organizing their boss, supporting their boss, making more money, whatever it is that is that particular person's goal or challenge during the workday. And then also I think it's important to keep in mind what that person does outside of work, because a lot of times that can influence someone's attitude at the office, or maybe if you're going after someone who's a little more creative or who goes home and they spend their personal time on social media and you happen to be there, with a really great Pinterest board that maybe they can't access at work but they see at home on the couch, and knowing that will help you be there in the right place at the right time.
I feel very strongly that you really need to go back and take a look at your business plan and start from there. You put a business plan together, you've hopefully written down why you're in business, what you plan to do, and from there begin to develop who you are selling to, who are you trying to reach out to. We're all in this for a reason. It's to develop our businesses, to make money, to grow, to advance. And the buyer personas are an integral part of what we do. You need a buyer persona for every single facet of your marketing strategy. Who you're selling to, who your own salespeople are, and developing a very detailed description of who these people are. And I said, their infographics, their psychographics, what makes them tick, because ultimately you want to be found where they are.
Yeah, and I think it kind of transcends beyond marketing, right? It's from the first interaction they have with you on the sales side to the way they perceive your content marketing, all the way to the customer service they receive after they're a customer. So there's this idea kind of going around, and I think people are catching on to it. It's more of like an inbound company, right? When you go to inbound marketing, the entire company needs to have an idea of who this persona is, and your company should be able to identify. I mean, at HubSpot we've got marketing Mary, owner Ollie, enterprise Aaron, and every single individual person at the company, when you say Aaron, when you say Mary, they know exactly who we're talking about. So it's really important that the entire company's bought into that concept. And then I think once you define these buyer personas, these target audiences, whatever you call them, I think we can all agree that content is the heart of inbound marketing. So I always get this, it's like, how am I going to write continual content for this persona or for these target audience? So I just wanted to hear if you guys had suggestions or tips or things that make it easier for you to keep that consistency.
So for us, it's really talking to the client. What do they want to be known for? What are their services? What are the things that they offer to the people that they're trying to attract? And let's talk about those kind of things. Let's offer solutions to the people that are looking for their services. Let's help them help others, and in turn, it brings them business. I mean, that's for me, that's one of the easiest way to get the content that we need. I mean, instead of trying to just brainstorm and come up with random topics, let's go straight to the source. Let's talk to the people that we want to help so that they're getting the business that they want.
I don't know about everybody else in the room, but when you hear content, what's your first thought? I jump to a blog post with one picture and maybe a question at the end that you hope people will read and answer in the comments. But content and content marketing is so many different things. And I think it's easy to fall into this trap where you think, I have to publish consistent content all the time. And so you think you have to write 1,000-word blog articles every day. And Google may tell you that you need to post 1,000-word blog articles every day, and it needs to be the best written piece of content that they've ever seen so that your site can boost its rankings and you can be seen as really valuable. But when you think about your audience and your readers, not everyone wants to sit down and read a 1,000-word blog article every day. I mean, when was the last time you were able to do that? I have probably 15 windows open on my desktop when I left the office today of things I meant to read today and didn't get a chance to. But I read lots of images and infographics that were sent to me today, looked at lots of things on Facebook, read a whole bunch of tweets. That is all content. And videos, taking pieces of really well-written blog articles that have performed really well and turning that into something else that's maybe visual or also written, but maybe written from a different angle, so that you can take one idea, like Sean said, that is something the customer wants to promote or you want to promote, and turn that into something that you can publish across multiple platforms for multiple types of readers. Some people are more visual, some people prefer words, that sort of thing. So taking your one idea and turning it into multiple pieces and then spreading that out over your calendar helps you really kind of give more life instead of feeling like you're in this rut of, oh my gosh, I have to write.
Going back just to the nuts and bolts of it, I mean, you look at it and you panic. How am I going to develop all this content? Where's it going to come from? And, we use Basecamp to keep us all kind of on the same page, our clients on the same page. We use a very detailed calendar. That calendar incorporates everything, including media. Sometimes, depending on the type of client, we will use the media calendar kind of as a the word I'm looking for, a guide to start developing our content and taking that media calendar and deciding, okay, we do a lot with the tire industry and large commercial products. This is what we need in January. So let's develop a blog post. From that blog post, let's send out our sales guys and get some video. Everything doesn't have to be brand spanking new, but developing that content calendar is crucial because it keeps you from panicking, and you know what is due, and you can divide that up between many people within your company. Not only your company, but we expect our clients to step up to the plate and provide us information. It's not coming out of the blue, and guest bloggers. Finding out, who are the most knowledgeable people within the company? Who can we turn to for information? The biggest challenge is putting it all in one place and keeping everyone on schedule. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of places to get it from, good information. There's no use necessarily always trying to reinvent the wheel. Take some good content and use what's out there.
I mean, I even think, like you said, there's so many different aspects of content, and taking that 1,000-word blog post and turning it into micro content. So you're pushing it out on Twitter. So you're adding a paragraph on LinkedIn. So you're sharing, images that link back to that blog post. And at the end of the day, it's all trickling back to that blog post, and it's linking to that call to action, and we're leading them to that landing page, and we're taking them through that sales process. So it's so important to forget. Don't worry about the blog post. Let's take that blog post and turn it into 15 other things so that we've got 2 weeks of content.
Mm-hmm. And as part of that content, making sure that, okay, say we are using a media guide, what are our keywords? How do we want to be found? What is the best way to go about doing it? And making sure that everything we do across the board are using those keywords so that that content makes sense to Google and also makes sense for the people who are searching for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so for you guys, when you're putting these content calendars together for somebody new, I mean, do you have a rule of thumb, X amount of blog posts are going out this month, this many social media posts, and do you have guidance for people who are just getting started and what a good volume of posts and pieces of content is?
I mean, it really depends on your industry. I mean, it really depends on how far you want to go, how fast you want to be found. I mean, there's so many different aspects of it. Do we have money to put into paid advertising to promote it as well? I mean, there's so many different ins and outs of, how many blog posts should we do this week? Of course, if you do more, like HubSpot, I feel like HubSpot writes like 6 blogs a day.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys can find them for anything. But I mean, there's room for marketers in here, and if we're all writing about the same kind of topics, then we're going to have to, compete against each other. And there's, so many different keywords and so many things that we can do. So, I think it really just depends on, what do you want to be known for? I feel like going back to a vertical, that's something that High Five really focuses on. Finding a vertical and staying in that vertical, because there's a lot of different areas and industries that we can get into. But if you focus on a vertical, being able to develop a content calendar and being able to speak with authority and being able to speak with consistency in your marketing, focusing on that vertical just helps you know, okay, well, I need to write 3 blog posts this week, one about root canals, one about, bridges, one about, Invisalign, and just really being able to have consistency with your story and just, for me, it's what is your vertical? What do you want to talk about? And, how much do you want to talk about it, and how fast do you want to be found? So the more you write, the easier it is to be found.
There's not too much content.
Yeah.
There's not too much. It's a
There's
matter
too
of,
little.
There's too little. But I mean, there's only so many hours in the day that you can produce, and sometimes you may, depending on how quickly someone wants to be found, you may have to outsource and get some other writing done. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to, what they say, skin a cat. It's horrible, but so there's a lot of ways to do it. It just depends on what the goals are for the company that we're working for.
And I think too, it depends on your buyer persona. It goes back to who it is that you're trying to target, because Sean, you said something about maintaining consistency, and there are all sorts of resources out there telling you what is the best time to post on which platform and how many times a day. But if your particular audience isn't on those platforms at that particular time of day, then
Wasting your time.
yeah, you may not even, your content may never be read or consumed. So once you know who your audience is and where they're interacting and how often and when, then you can start to think about your consistent pattern of communication. I think once you start to establish that, it's important to maintain whatever you set up, especially if you're new and you're starting out with a content strategy. If you're going to be once a week or twice a month, great. If that works for you, that's great. But keep it going, because then if your readers start to expect that they're going to get your blog in their email inbox once a week, then you need to do whatever you can to make sure that that your information is there when they're expecting it. Same for whenever you post on Facebook or Instagram or on your LinkedIn. As long as your audience knows when they can expect to hear from you and you're there when they're looking for you, that's going to be just as important as what you write and what you say and how often.
I mean, you can't spend too much time on developing your personas, and those personas are an ever-growing document, because people change. You change, we change, everyone changes, and you need to spend a lot of time determining who your target market is and what it is that they want and they like and they need, because our job is to provide them what they need when they need it. So.
Well, I mean, not only that, but I mean, social media is an ever-growing, ever-changing environment, and how we engage with social media is so much different. Even if you look back 10 years ago versus today, I mean, there's so many things that are going on. And like you said, where are your target audience? Where are they interacting? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Do they just purely read their RSS feeds? I mean, where are they, and how are you going to communicate with them? But the consistency is key. They say content is king. I think consistency trumps that, bar none. I mean, if you're, like she said, if you're posting once a month, every month, and your audience that you're reaching starts engaging with that, and then you pull back from that, they're going to go, okay, cool, I'm going to go to the next person that's going to solve my problem.
Yeah. And even, I mean, yes, your audience coming to your site and seeing there's not consistent content, that's your first thing. But, from Google's perspective, I think of consistent content, it's almost like, classical conditioning back in high school, right? You're conditioning Google to come back and to index your pages and serve them up on the search engine. So if Google comes back and you haven't posted a new blog or a new piece of content in months and weeks, they're not coming back for a while, and that's part of their algorithm. So the consistency is really important, and you just got to start, pick something once a month, stick with that for a couple months, twice a month, and just start building it up until you guys are comfortable. But when you start, stick with it. I can't stress it enough.
And publishing it isn't enough. Keeping up with what you published, keep an eye on it, respond back when someone makes a comment, make sure that there's things that are not, things that aren't appropriate aren't there. We actually ran into a tire dealer who someone had posted on their website that their clerk was having sex with someone in the office in the hot tub. I don't know where the hot tub was, but that had been on there for about 8 weeks, and that was on their Facebook page for the whole wide world to see, and no one had checked it. So, it's, yes, going back, what you say is content, is king, but like you said, stay small so you can manage it, because you've got to manage it no matter what.
I know. I kind of also feel like people forget you've got 30, 40 blogs that you've had over the last year, 2 years. Repurpose it, use it. Talk about that topic again, because it's probably changed in some way, shape, or form. And you can probably take that same blog post and write 2 more blog posts from it. At the end of the day, repurpose what you've already written and continue to educate your target audience.
Yep. Christine touched on a funny thing, like the hot tub story, right? But I think there is a level of fear with people getting started with social media, getting started with content marketing. Are people going to like what I have to say? First of all, your first blog article is not going to be the best blog you ever write. Get over it already. But you just got to kind of get with it. But what do you say for people who are fearful to put their voice out, or fearful of that bad Yelp review, or whatever it may be?
Close your business down and get out of business. close your business down and get out of business. I mean, I can't say that sounds nasty, but it's true. I mean, people will talk about you, and you'd much rather know about it than not. So, and they will talk bad, and just because someone talked bad doesn't necessarily mean you have to answer back. But if you have a problem, deal with it.
I mean, I think a lot of people are fearful because they forget one thing. You know, social media is called social media for a reason. It's social. Let's talk to people. Let's not be blowhorns saying, hey, look at me, look at me. You touched on that a minute ago, you know, always putting the bright flashing lights in front of people's face. At the end of the day, we get more engagement off of people posting real stuff. You know, the owner of our company having a picture of the birthday and just saying, hey, world, check it out. It's our owner's birthday. We want to show appreciation. Thank you. And people love that stuff. You know, that's what they want to engage with. Be social.
Human.
And then when you do post that blog article, they're like, cool. And they actually engage with that. They start sharing that. So they come back to you because they want to engage with you. They see that you're a human, not somebody being robotic and just, you know, always talking about yourself.
Well, and part of being human is, you know, accepting feedback and criticism and
Making
how,
mistakes.
yes, and how you respond to that can show a lot about your business and your product. And you can't run from it. If you've all been to Yelp reviews or Google reviews or something and seen only positive comments, and you know, sometimes that makes you pause and think, are these real? Can I trust this? Sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of, well, this would have been better if they had done this, or, you know, your product quit working 2 days later, and then if you can respond to that and leave your comments up and don't delete them, then other people can see, oh, they are actually taking care, they do care about me, they responded to this problem. And you can't run from that. Do you run from that in your daily life? Probably not. If you do, I'd like to know how you get away with never
Let me
getting
get that
criticism. So be who you are online, just like you are in real life, and especially when you're acting as a business or acting on behalf of other businesses. I think that's even more critical.
Well, I think Jessica, you know, touched on it a little bit. You know, think of the negative feedback as an opportunity for you to grow. You know, at the end of the day, when they leave you negative feedback, that's a perception of your business and what the experience that they had with you. And how are you going to handle that? Are you just going to turn a cold eye to it and forget what they say and let the rest of the world see that? Or are you actually going to step up with the customer service and really offer a solution to that? You know, they had a problem. Let's fix it. Now, of course, there are some of those people that just want to be mean and just want to go and blast you, and that's okay. Still respond to it, but do it in a non-confrontational way. Offer a solution. Try to get them offline. Say, hey, you know, here, I noticed that we had a bad problem. I always want to make sure that we have an amazing experience with our, you know, customers. I'd love to talk with you to see how we can fix this. Here's my name. Here's my email address. You know, let's get in touch and let's talk offline and figure this out. But at the end of the day, don't run from your problems.
Yeah.
Head them off. You know, use that as an opportunity because, like you said, you know, if somebody sees nothing but positive feedback, you start to wonder, you know, is this real? So when you do have those and you respond to that stuff, people go, okay, you know, they care. They're human. They mess up and they respond to it. You know, I've gone into restaurants and blast them because of their bad customer service, and they reach out to me, and that completely turns my experience around, and I go, you know what? I'm going to come back.
Trying to get a free
And-
dessert.
right?
We get it. We get it, you know.
Yeah. And I don't know how many, you know, people in here, you know, have larger companies and, you know, making everyone aware that you will have negative feedback. I mean, that's just part of the business, and you know how you are going to deal with it, and if you are, because not all negative feedback needs to be dealt with. A lot does, but you know, you do have those nutcases, and sometimes those nutcases, you know, for most part, the general public that reads that also knows that person's nuts. So you know, but you need a plan on how you are going to deal with those situations.
Yep, absolutely. So with dealing with negative feedback, with having a lot of your you know, members of the company involved in inbound marketing, do you guys have social media policies at your company? You know, are there things that you say, hey, don't post this, that's okay? Like, how do you guys monitor you know, how the team interacts with content or posts content? Or do you not?
Training.
Training?
I mean, at the end of the day, it goes back to your company culture. You know, do you all have the same purpose and goal in mind? Or are you trying to, you know, solve the people's solutions and help everybody? Is everybody in alignment with what your end goal is? And if they are, well, cool, then everybody should be able to respond to that. You shouldn't want to hide your employees. You know, at the end of the day, if
They're your
somebody
best.
says something and they see it, cool, let's head it off. Let's talk about it right now. And if everybody has that same end goal in mind, whatever the response is, cool, I'm going to jump in there too and maybe add something else to it. But at the end of the day, I don't think you should moderate your employees on what they say. They should be in line with your company goals.
But you do need to train them, because sometimes it's just a reminder that you know, what they say is now available for the whole world to see.
A reflection.
You know, that it is a reflection on the company, reflection on themselves. So, you know, you need to train your employees, you need to train your clients, the clients need to train their employees. Because, you know, we have clients all the time. So, well, we don't let our employees get on social media at work. Well, you know what? There's a thing called an iPhone. You know, I guarantee they're checking it, they're tweeting, so you do need to train people, and it's just a reminder to them, you know, respect, you know, and how the fact that what they do say can have a much wider implication, and humor does not translate very well in social media.
And I've been in situations in companies before where, you know, the information about your business may be sensitive, or maybe you haven't released all the details of a product yet and the public doesn't know about it, but then, you know, you have sales people who are leaving a meeting and they're really fired up about it, so they're posting about it. And you know, what is it goes back to the training, but also the policy, and even if you're not in the leadership, make sure that your leadership is aware of this and you have a plan in place to address if something is more or less leaked to the public before it needs to be, whether it's sensitive information or just something that you're trying to, you know, gear up for a big product launch or make an organized announcement. You don't want that one person who gets excited and doesn't realize they're supposed to keep it quiet yet.
Yeah, because that's
Talk
where
about it.
journalists are checking, Twitter in particular. Yeah.
All right, so does anybody have questions, by the way? I haven't been really looking at them bad. Don't be shy. All right, we'll come back to you. We'll get more questions. So we've been talking about social media policy, what to post, you know, what's your policy and should we be fearful? How does social media fit into the bigger picture of inbound marketing? Because I think sometimes, you know, people think they're one and the same, but I think they're pretty different. So what do you guys think?
I mean, social media is your catalyst. It's what's going to take you from posting your blog post on your actual website and give you the machine that's actually going to get it out to everybody. So, you know, for me personally, a lot of our clients, they stay on LinkedIn. That's kind of where they hang out. But it really just depends. It all goes back to that buyer persona. You know, where are your people at, and how are you going to get your content to them? So, you know, whether that's on Facebook, you know, having an image that links to your blog post or whatever that is, it's really, social media is your tool to get your content out to the masses.
Okay.
And I think it does work hand in hand. It can be separate, but I think it works better together, because it's, no matter where your brand is online, no matter who you're trying to target, you're reaching people in a different way. So you may be able to reach someone who has the time to read a 1,000-word blog article every day, and that's great. But if you only rely on that as the traditional method of inbound marketing, where you drive people to your website and they read something and they click something and they fill out a form, and now you have them and you can call them and you can sell them something, and that's great. But if you only rely on that, then you're missing this whole other population of people who could become your customers or your brand champions. But on the other hand, if you only focus on social and you don't take into account any of the other pieces that make your marketing complete, then the two aren't working together, and you're almost doing double work with double or triple the effort instead of blending them together, making things easier on yourself.
Mm-hmm. I mean, social is just one part of the overall piece of the puzzle. You know, we do advertising, we do emails and white papers and whatever we need that is going to provide value to our clients. But I love using social, because put me up against social in a magazine any day and we'll see the return on investment. And you know, one of the things that has been surprising to us, and we've learned over the years, is, you know, sometimes we think, okay, we know where our customers are, and sometimes we're wrong. And we found by developing the buyer persona and really getting in there, sometimes those customers are not where we think they are. And we work with the tire industry a great deal. And surprisingly enough, we have had tremendous success with Facebook advertising for tires in the tire industry. So it's for your return on investment using social media, it can blow almost anything else you're doing out of the water. Facebook. Facebook advertising, love it, absolutely love it.
It's also,
love
I
it.
think, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Something that none of us have mentioned, but I think is critical, is when you're developing those content calendars and trying to figure out what you're going to talk about, social media is the best place to go to figure out who your audience is and what they're talking about already. And if they've shared a picture 15,000 times, use that picture, incorporate that into your content calendar. You know, take what people are already talking about on the platform they're already using to talk about it, and put yourself there, share your content in that place, and be present, and that helps you be there and be found and be in front of them without screaming and flashing in their face.
And Jessica also said, you know, if all you're thinking about is your blog post and, you know, trying to always direct people back to that, you're going to miss the boat on a lot of opportunities for closed sales, because at the end of the day, you know, most people take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times of being touched. And if you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, they're getting an email, they're seeing your blog post, they're seeing multiple touches and interactions from you, and you're talking and engaging with them in a way they want to be talked to. Eventually, they're going to do what you want them to. They're going to hit that blog post. They're going to hit that call to action. They're going to fill out the form, and then you've got them. And then you can start nurturing them through that process. And it all really happens through social media. I mean, to me, I feel like inbound marketing wouldn't be as successful without that catalyst.
Yeah. And so we're all talking about, you know, email marketing, we're talking about Facebook ads, landing pages, content. So, I mean, there's, you know, some money and there's some resources that are being spent. So I think everyone probably is curious on our thoughts on either tracking return on investment, or, you know, when should you expect to see a return on investment from doing inbound marketing? So what are your guys' thoughts on this?
7 months, according to HubSpot.
I mean, it takes time. I mean, you got to get the content out there. I mean, you can't just, you know, expect to turn on this inbound marketing machine and expect an immediate return. I mean, you're 3-4 months really getting that content out there and really starting to engage and really starting to figure out what your buyer persona is, and what you think maybe your buyer persona is may be completely wrong. I mean, they may be hanging out in places that are not where you think they hang out. So, you know, you're looking upwards of 7, 8, 9 months before you're really getting things pumping, before you can see it. But, you know, if you start spending, you know, $15, $20, $100 on Facebook ads, and you're really pumping your content out there, you know, you're writing 15, 16 blogs in a month, and you're really getting it out there, and you're sharing it on multiple platforms, and you're continuously engaging and getting that stuff out there, and you start getting email subscribers, and you're sending them your blogs at the end of the month. It just really depends on how much are you willing to put yourself out there, and how much are you willing to, at the end of the day, stay consistent.
Yeah.
True.
Any other thoughts on return on investment, or?
You know, I think return on investment is a really important question. It's something that you need to know immediately. You need to know, I mean, from our standpoint as an agency, we need to know, okay, what are we going to be measured on? And if you know, that means we may need to incorporate a coupon that we can track, so we can show exactly what the return on investment is once we did the blog post, the call to action, you know, they filled out our call to action, and as a result, they get entered into a contest. The contest is numbered, you know, so there's a lot of components. But, you know, we need to know, you know, what do our clients feel is a success? You know, what is successful to them, and work backwards. Because we can show exactly what the return on investment is by starting that way. You know, the coupon's a wonderful way to do it, tracking it, you know, and going backwards. So there's a wide variety of things that you can do, whether it's Facebook contests or Instagram contests or Twitter contests. You know, it just depends on what you want the outcome to be. Then work from there to achieve it.
And she said it, but I mean, at the end of the day, what is success? You know, let's find out perfect world what success looks like. Whether that's, you know, what's success in 30 days, what's success in 60 days. And let's be realistic. You know, we can't say, oh, I want 100 customers that come through the door. Well, you know, how are we going to get those customers? Get their consistency. So, you know, let's maybe say, you know, in a year's time we achieve that. But, you know, you have to be realistic in the goal setting. And at the end of the day, you know, set benchmarks and say, cool, here's where we were last month. Here's where we think we can be. Let's set goals to hit that. And here are the tools, social media and email marketing and Facebook ads and blog posts. And here are the things that we're going to use to hit those benchmarks. And as long as we're, as a team, putting those things into place and making sure that we're hitting those benchmarks, we're going to be able to start seeing the return on investment and start getting the customers to come in the door. Thanks, Sherry.
Yeah, question.
I recommend using anything you're comfortable with.
Right.
Because no matter what it is you use, there's a learning curve. And it's whatever you are comfortable with. I use Hootsuite. I use, of course, the HubSpot calendar. We use the Basecamp calendar. You know, so it's whatever you're comfortable with.
I also think it's, you know, what are your clients comfortable with?
Exactly.
You know, because at the end of the day, they may not be the most tech savvy person. So, you know, if you put together a content calendar in a paper format that they can sign off on, maybe that's how they want to interact.
Excel.
You know, we use Basecamp as well. And I mean, you know, that seems to be a really easy way to keep everything in one place, to talk with our client, for them to see what's going on, for us to see what's going on, and set deadlines on that so that we're always getting pinged saying, hey, you need to do this. Or, hey, client, you know, check this out. Here's where we are with this. But at the end of the day, she nailed it on the head. You know, what are you comfortable with? And even more important, what is your client comfortable with?
Google Docs. It could be, you know, whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of free tools. I think Google Calendar is a good one. You get a shared one. I don't know if I use Trello. I don't know if you guys use Trello. It's kind of like glorified to-do list, but it's free and it keeps the team on track. So there's a lot of options, and we can talk about it offline if people want to go through tools they use. But I think the return on investment thing, you know, I love ads, and I think they are part of a bigger strategy with your inbound, right? You can't just do ads and you can't just do inbound, but the thing with ads is that once you stop writing the checks, although the traffic looks like this, when you start writing the checks, your traffic goes back down. So with inbound, it's more of a slow progression, but you're going to stay there, you're going to stay stable, and it's not going to rely on you spending more money to keep it there. So it's definitely investment, it takes time, but it's worth it in the long run.
Yeah, one thing important on an ROI is to know how much your customer is worth to you. You know, for instance, we have a farm tower client, so, you know, getting for their dealers, getting one farmer to do business with them, he has a lot of equipment. So you have to analyze, you know, what's that one customer worth over a lifetime, and then you just compare that to how much you're spending.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the keys for sure.
And if you didn't hear, the answer was, what is your customer? What is the value of your customer? And you really need to know that and ascertain that. It's important.
And I mean, we actually had this the other day. We walked into a client's office, and we're in the process of converting some of our clients over to a new packaging. And he wants to be cheap in some areas. And, you know, he always wants to bring in new customers. And at the end of the day, it's, okay, here's your budget. If you want to bring in that many more, then we're going to have to bump you up to here. Well, I don't want that. Okay, well, you know, you can't have the veneers and have Medicare. You know, I mean, it doesn't work that way. At the end of the day, you know, she nailed it on the head. What is your customer worth? And how much are you willing to invest in your marketing, in your inbound marketing, to bring that customer in?
Any other questions on that? Yep.
This is a little off, but different subject. Is inbound marketing useful for every business? Or are there some businesses, I'm thinking like a local mom and pop wine and liquor store, would that be a useful tool to put in their marketing toolbox?
Well, I mean, I'll give my 2 cents on it. I think everyone, I mean, inbound, you know, can be a lot of things, and it can be, you know, not that many things, right? So I think for a mom and pop shop, you pick out the things that are going to be relevant for them. I mean, social media, of course, right? You said coupons, of course. Like there are a lot of things, email marketing specials that they're having. There's definitely varying degrees and that you can do and engage them. But I think other businesses, you know, like B2B companies, I mean, their inbound fits all the way. But I think every business that has a customer on the other end is a fit for inbound marketing at some level. And I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, according to, I think it was maybe a HubSpot or Mashable, I can't remember, I can't open my notes. You know, they're saying, you know, if your customer is worth $500 or more to you over a lifetime, then inbound's for you.
That's only 100 cups of coffee.
100 cups of coffee.
I think Adrian really nailed it on the head. I mean, it's, you know, there's a lot of different varying degrees of what inbound is, and I feel like some people get so confused with it and they almost, you know, turn away from it because it's a scary marketing, and it's, you know, this newer form of marketing that's been happening for quite some time, but it's becoming more of an adaptable thing, and you know, the more we put into it, the more it comes back out of it. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, you don't have to have the HubSpots and, you know, the Actons, and you don't have to have all these different softwares. At the end of the day, you know, for a little mom and pop shop, it could be an email marketing campaign with a call to action at the bottom of it with a coupon that says, hey, come and join us, you know, and then tweeting that and being on Facebook and sharing that stuff over multiple platforms. So at the end of the day, you don't have to have
The whole-
software to track it. Now, it does help, and it really will help you, you know, see that return on investment. But at the end of the day, you know, if it's a mom and pop thing, you know, do what works for your business.
All right, I think I had a question here, yeah?
Yes, I started a nonprofit organization to eliminate hunger. I don't know the value of my customer because it really depends on what they decide they want to give. So I can't necessarily prejudge anyone because you don't know how much that person is going to give. So would you be able to tell me like what ways that I can actually draw people with whatever inbound avenues that I can go through, because I know it's going to be a long-term relationship with people. And also networking with more people in the community, I think starting out with the people that I know and then around the community and then going abroad. But I would want to know
Who's your ideal customer? Who are you, I mean, I'm assuming you're talking people who you are raising money from. So, you know, what is your, it goes back to what is your ideal customer look like, and where are they?
Personas.
You know, it goes back to personas. You know, who is that person and where are they? You know, what are they doing? Are they female? What is their income level? What is their education level? Developing a very detailed persona, and then once you figure that out, determine where they are so you know where to reach out to them for.
I don't even think about, I mean, for you, I feel like it's building awareness. Don't just say, hey, I need money. Say, here's the problem. Here's what I'm trying to fix. And I think naturally people will feel compelled to, you know, offer help to those kind of things. So going back to the buyer personas, you know, when you start building up awareness in that and they start, you know, seeing these trends that are happening and you're saying, hey, you know, here's an area that needs help. Can you help me with this? And don't necessarily
What is
say,
your
can you
story?
help me?
What
But
is your
build that story.
what is your
and
story?
Consistently build awareness around that. And at the end of the day, people are going to naturally start coming to you and saying, hey, can I help? You know, and you can lead them through that funnel through the call to actions that say, hey, here's an area for you to donate.
Yeah.
Is there other resources that you would suggest for nonprofits? Because income level doesn't necessarily line up with, you know, the compulsion to give.
Right. Well, it goes back to your story. You know, who are you going to touch with your story? What does that person look like? Still goes back to personas. What does that, it all, you know, what does that person look like? You know, I like animals. You know, you might, you know, you've got kids. You know, I mean, we all have the not-for-profit sector. Your question is
Are there any resources kind of study?
well, I mean, in Nashville, I mean, I know the not-for-profit group, the Center for Nonprofit Management. is
I'm
an
gonna
excellent
point out
source.
Kelly. You know, I know Kelly is in depth in that, and you know.
See
Kelly,
that lady.
What do you do? Where do you go for resources? I mean, I know you're in it all the time, so.
I just, funny story. So I work for the Community Foundation and I cover a LGBT fund, a women's fund, a donor database. It's all over the map what I have to do. So every day I'm trying to put content to reach out to each one of these communities. So it's literally finding what is connecting those communities, what is tearing at the heartstrings. Is that the direction that we're moving? We can definitely talk more about this, and I would love if you guys came April 16th, because
April 16th, it's all about not-for-profit. So the next social media one is all about yeah.
I have a question for starting, like a startup, starting social media efforts. How do you suggest with your clients creating a voice, attaining a voice, and maintaining a consistency among the social media platforms for that voice? Does that make sense?
I would say one thing: don't go sign up for a Twitter and a Facebook and Instagram and a Pinterest and all those things. You know, you might want to go to those places and reserve your @handle and make sure you can have that consistent @handle on all of them. But don't just say, cool, here I'm a new business and I'm going to go jump on every social media without going back to the buyer persona, figuring out where your audience is, without, you know, developing some kind of a content calendar, figuring out what you're going to post. At the end of the day, it's who's your buyer persona, how many times are you going to post a week? When you develop that, how consistent can you stay with that? Is it realistic to say that we're going to do 3 blog posts a week and then, you know, tweet that? You know, what
You know, why
where's
you're
the
in business and
consistency?
who are you in business for?
Yeah.
And I think that your voice across all platforms needs to be consistent in the way that you brand your brand positioning and who you are and what you stand for, but the same voice that you would use to reach someone on Facebook is not going to be the same as LinkedIn. So if that's where your buyers are in both places, you need to tweak a little bit how you sound. But it's up to you and your company to figure out, define that about yourself, and then educate everyone who's on your team who's going to be
Involved
posting
in that.
and just doing research, you know, paying attention to what other people, similar companies or your target clients, what voice are they using and how are they responding? You know, if you use 57 hashtags in one Instagram post and it gets no likes, but you use 2 hashtags and it gets 150 likes, you know, maybe too many hashtags is a problem with that audience. You know, so you just need to listen at the beginning, listen more than you talk, and then define that for yourself. And then that way your team can know, be on the
You
same
made
page.
a very good point. You know, LinkedIn is more like networking here or with the Chamber of Commerce. You know, Facebook is more like at your kid's soccer match or playing golf on the green. You know, Twitter is kind of like watching CNN breaking news. I mean, you've got different feels for each one of the social media sites, and you may or may not need to be on them, depending on who your customers are.
Well, and not only that, you know, it all goes back to be human, be social. And if you're posting this same exact thing on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, people are going to start noticing that, because the people that are on multiple platforms, they're looking at you. And if you're building a consistent story that's the same on every platform, people are going to start turning an eye to that, and they're going to say, you know what, I'm not going to listen to this person. They're going to block you off their page, unlike you, and they're not going to be engaging with you anymore, and you've lost your opportunity.
And for you as a you know, startups, it's never too early to start, especially if you're trying to figure out, you know, what your audience cares about early on. Is this a viable business idea? Do people care about it? I mean, at HubSpot, we blogged for 6 months before we even had a piece of software we could ship. So it's a good way for you to build an audience, see if there's even, you know, people interested in this product or this idea that you have. So really never too early to start for startups. And I think I'm getting like the hook over here to wrap it up. So does anybody have any last final questions? Yes.
So when it comes to doing all this, a lot of times you do want to go out and find an agency or a consultant, and there's a million of them out there. From an ROI perspective, besides just hiring y'all, how do I decide who to choose and what to pay them?
I mean, it goes back to it, you know, our target audience is the dental industry. And if you're a dentist, then you fit in our industry, and we know how to speak to those dentists. So it's, you know, talking to the agency and figuring out, you know, who do they work with? You know, what is your target audience? You know, what do you want to accomplish? And when we work with specifically those people, and you're able to see the results that we have, and we're able to show the ROI for the things that we do for those people, we can do that for you. But I mean, you know, for
Results.
us, I wouldn't be able to help
Results.
you. I mean, you're not a dentist, so I don't know how to speak in authority, and I would have to go and churn content and go hire somebody to do this, and you know, it would be a never-ending process trying to prove to you my worth.
And I think it's a personality match too. It's finding an agency that you like their tone, you like their voice, and go with an agency who's not afraid to fail. I think an agency should be almost like a partnership with you. Because in that early time when you're figuring out your buyer persona and the content that's going to work well, you want somebody who's willing to try something, see it doesn't work, and then try something new and kind of keep iterating. If you've got somebody who's too tentative to jump the gun or try something new, then I don't know. I don't
And
think
life's
you're
too
gonna be
short to
successful.
work with
Yeah.
jerky people. I mean, really. I mean, you know, it goes back
Yeah.
to the fit, you know, who fits and results.
Well, it's always growing, it's ever changing. And if the agency you're working with isn't growing and ever changing with that, then what's the point? You know, with us, you know, we have 30 hours of work that we spend on our clients, and then 10 hours of the week is on personal development, learning our craft, making sure that we're ahead of the curve. You know, we don't want, you know, our competition to be ahead of us, and then, oh, well, you know, they're doing this. Let's figure out how they did it. And, you know, we want to be ahead of that. We want to be the trendsetters. We don't want to be the copycats.
Make sure they're showing you reports and analytics and setting goals with you. But anyways, so
And read them.
yeah, exactly, and read them. Any final questions before we'll?
Who writes the content? We just got a client 2 hours ago, and he does. But I'm sitting here thinking of all this stuff you're saying. He's in the car repair business. When he's like 55, had a shop for 30 years. He doesn't even know what Twitter is, but he knows cars. Well, I kind of know some of what you're talking about, but I don't know anything about cars. So how do we merge those two brains together? I mean, I know I can ask him some questions here and there, but I mean, I need him to write the content.
So, well, and we may disagree, but, you know, basically, you know, you don't need 1,000 words. I mean, at the
No.
end of the day, you can have a 500 word, a 600 word, and you can develop a template. Here's your intro. Here's some bullet points that help somebody, and here's how we close it out. Here's the call to action at the end of the day. What is our purpose? Why are we writing this? You know, so if you can give them an outline and say, hey, I need, you know, X number of words, it doesn't have to be,
Then
you
you
know,
put
an
it together.
ebook. Give them a template, narrow it down for them. Say, here's how you do it. Let's pick one keyword, you know, and this is what we're going to base this whole article about, and let's focus on that. And here's your template. Go. And of course, you're probably going to have to come back and, you know, do some editing.
And
but-
you're going to have a learning curve. You're going to have to learn a lot about his business.
Learn more about cars. I'm gonna have to take bullet points and send it straight, you know, and make it into something.
Yep.
And it's further.
Yeah. But
You can,
video.
Yeah, video is a really good idea. You can make
Video.
those, take a video, transcribe it into a blog, and also like if you get the owner of a business in a room, you get your iPhone or a microphone out, ask
He's
them a
been
couple
in
questions,
business that long,
let them
he's gotta
spew
have a
all their good
personality.
knowledge, and then you just have that, and you can pick and pull from stuff. Yeah.
We're being told to.
Oh. Oh, we good?
I was just gonna say that I work in the restoration industry, and when I started working in restoration, I had absolutely no idea what it was to be fire and water restoration. So I set up Google alerts with certain keywords so I can start to learn what are other people writing about, what are things that they're seeking. So now I have daily and weekly Google alerts that come through to me to gather that content.
That's a great tip.
Hi, my name is Samantha Thomas Porter, and I am, my background is accounting, but I'm kind of trying to step into like marketing. And I kind of have a question, like with social media, like how does that play with marketing? And are they combined with sales? Like what are you like with the social media, with the apps that you all use? Like how is that meeting the expectations of whatever corporations that you're representing? And does that work hand in hand with marketing and
It is, I mean, it's a tool within the marketing arsenal. It's a tool that crosses marketing, sales, customer service. If done right, it should be everywhere, because you want to know, forgive me if I'm wrong, you want to know what's being said, who's saying it,
How they're saying.
how they're saying it. That's just from a listening standpoint. That's before you ever even say a word. But it is a tool within marketing, within sales, within customer service. It's everywhere.
And how much effort goes into the social media?
It's a daily thing.
Fortunately, a lot. Takes a little bit of time.
A lot, and more every day.
Is more effort going into social media than sales?
No.
Well, no, if you have a savvy salesperson, they're going to see social media as a godsend, because social media will help them research their clients, find out what's going on with their competitors. It will help them be a better salesperson. Because there should be, in this day and age, no more cold calls if they are doing social media correctly.
Any other questions in the group?
We have plenty of time, so if anybody else has any questions, feel free to ask.
I heard the term used to be brand management. What does that mean?
What did you say?
Brand management. John.
That's a hard one.
Well, from an old advertising standpoint,
Yeah, I could answer.
from an old advertising standpoint, you want to say that one,
Yeah,
John?
I think brand management is knowing, having a defined brand positioning, knowing what your brand is about, and then really everything you do supports that position.
Brand.
Through your communications and all that. So it's managing. It's not letting your brand get off course and be untrue to itself. So I think that's what it means to me, is kind of managing that positioning and staying true to what your brand is about.
From everything from,
Like, Volvo cars, safety, they've managed that brand for 50 years now.
It's about the consistency. If you see golden arches, you
know what the
instantaneously
brand
think
is.
McDonald's. Or if you I have this thing that I do with my son. I'm kind of a commercial person. And I love seeing commercials. So Kmart commercials, and here recently Arby's commercials. And when the guy in the commercial says, "Arby's, we have the meats." My son's only 2.5 years old, and every time he hears that Arby's, it doesn't matter what he's doing, he immediately turns and he says, "We have the meats." And it's consistency. So it's, what is your story? How do you want that story to be seen? How are people listening and hearing what's going on with you, and how are you going to manage that? How are
what's
you
your
gonna tell
logo?
that?
What are the colors? Are the PMS colors exactly right? Is the logo, you have your brand standards, so there's a lot.
The culture of your
the
company.
culture.
Does the site copy match up with the voice you have on social media? It's just making sure there's that consistent message when people come across you. I think we have time for one more question, so anybody got? Make it a good one.
Yeah, I've got one for
Okay.
HubSpot. So when you've been at HubSpot how long?
Almost 5 years.
All right, so you've seen companies come and go.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the characteristics when they succeed, and more importantly when they fail? What do they usually do not do right when they say HubSpot's not working for them?
HubSpot's not working. So first of all, HubSpot is nothing unless you put in the work. It doesn't matter what tool you use. If you're not consistently creating content, any software, it's all going to fail for you. So I think the people who don't succeed are the ones that give up easily, the ones that think they do 3 months of blog content, they ran their first campaign, and then they just want to sit back and kind of let it run. You have to consistently be pushing out new content. So the people who don't have the consistency factor, the people who don't have buy-in from upper management at their company, right? Because it's this inbound experience from your sales guys, the marketing folks, customer support. Do they know your persona? So I think it really comes down to having buy-in from the top for the whole company, that consistency piece, and then just like not being afraid to jump in and, like I said, fail. Because no one's great at this when they start, so don't be discouraged if after 3 months, 4 months it's not working.
There's a long,
You
there's a learning
gotta
curve.
keep getting over that hump, and then it's, it's smooth sailing.
And it all goes back to the buyer persona. I know we've had a really difficult time. I mean, that's a very hard thing to nail down and know the specifics, the ins and outs. What do they do when they leave work? What do they do when they're at work? How do they engage? What platforms are they on? And not having that consistency and not having that buy-in and not knowing who you're actually writing content for at the end of the day. If you're just writing content for the sake of writing content, you're not gonna see success.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna be found where people are looking for you.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. Well, guys, thanks so much for this. I think you guys are wonderful.
Let's give everybody a round of applause. Thank you so much for your insight tonight. Thanks everybody for coming. We can continue this conversation online. Our Facebook group is very active. Our Twitter feed is very active. I would like everybody on the Social Media Club Leadership Committee to please stand up. And so you guys can come on over and introduce yourself. Brandon Lee, we've been trying to connect for a month now. I want to talk to you. And thank you so much to High Five. Thank you to the Entrepreneur Center. And don't forget to utilize that photo booth in the back. It's lots of fun. Grab your phone charger from HubSpot, your tattoos, and also your pens and papers. Thanks, everybody.
This is that ice cold Michelle fight for that white gold. This one for them hood girls, them good girls, straight masterpieces. Stylin', wildin', living it up in the city. Got Chuck's on with Saint Laurent. Gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty. I'm too hot. Call the police and the fireman. I'm too hot. Make a dragon wanna retire, man. I'm too hot. Say my name, you know who I am. I'm too hot. And my band bought that money. Break it down. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. 'Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. 'Cause Uptown Funk